appointments are lined up.
You waiting for somebody in there?
Got an appointment.
And it's not about what you want to hear, but what you need to hear.
It's not personal. It's strictly business. It's time you and me had a private talk, Winger. Step into my office.
It's Step Into My Office with Michael Lombardi. Mr. Lombardi, we'll see you now.
No sense in burying the lead. Paul George, the first up in Michael Lombardi's office. The big news today, he and the 76ers agreeing late night, 3:30 a.m. Eastern time to a 4-year, $212 million max contract. Michael, what advice would you give the 34-year-old George as he begins his time with a Philadelphia team that's desperate to get over the hump?
You know, Paul, I think to me the most important contribution you can make to Philadelphia's 76er basketball has nothing to do with points. It has nothing to do with assists. It has nothing to do with rebounds. It has everything to do with convincing the big fella to get in shape and convincing the big fella to try to stay healthy and off the ground, convincing the big fella to play a style that's conducive to everybody else and not have to hog the ball at the three-point line. What your contributions will be measured by, not by your points per game, not by your points per minute, will be, can you get him to buy into the program? Because he is one who has never bought into the program. He's been operating as an independent contractor, much to the chagrin of everybody else who's gone through that building. I mean, if you could only talk to Tobias Harris, he'll tell you. But since Tobias has made so much money, I don't think he really cares. So the reality of it is your contributions are going to be measured by how you get him to play and how you get him to be in shape and how you get him to become a professional and not a guy who's always out of shape and always hurt. So, look, the window's very small, and this is a hard, hard town. And everybody's looking at this signing with a skeptical eye like I am because you're 34 years old and everybody understands it. Everybody understands that, you know, it's a time where you're not the same player you once were. But to get to where you want to go, you've got to make him the player everybody thinks he is. And maybe he'll listen to you because there's been a lot of guys he's not listened to. So, to me, as I watch you play, I'm really not going to see how many points you score or what assist you give. What I'm going to see is simply this. Can you get him to play better?
Well, and you know Joel Embiid wanted him, right? You think back to the NBA Finals where they're sitting on the NBA countdown desk and Joel Embiid has the big eye, says, if we can add some pieces. So this is the guy that he wanted. The high expectations in Philly get even higher now. We'll see if things can come together. Philadelphia goes from 13-1 to 8-1 to win an NBA title, from plus 550 to 4-1 in the Eastern Conference. Now, this Paul George departure from Los Angeles also brings the trade between the Thunder and Clippers from 2019 back into focus. Here are the details. The Clippers traded Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, 5 first-round picks and 2 first-round pick swaps to the Thunder for George. In 5 years with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, the Clippers lost twice in the first round, missed the postseason once, and had 1 West Finals appearance. Clippers owner Steve Ballmer is in the office. Does he need to reevaluate his team-building strategy after what has clearly been a failed experiment? No NBA titles to show for it.
Well, I think, Mr. Balmer, I don't have to tell you, but your plan at Microsoft is the same approach you've got to take with the Clippers. It's got to be slow and steady. It's not going to be dominate the market. You've made your run. You went out and you got Kawhi Leonard, and then he wanted Paul George, and Paul George wanted to play for him, and you gave up one of the best young players in all of basketball to acquire Paul George and did not make it past the first round this year. So I think you're on the right track. You got a beautiful new arena. I think you got to listen to your basketball people and don't act impatiently, right? You just signed Harden to a 2-year deal at $70 million for 2, at $35 million a year, which is below what he was going to get in the market value in terms of a max deal. You'll get a year and a half out of him, and you're just going to have to continue to draft well. Look, this is not going to come easily to you. This is going to be hard. To win championships in the NBA, it takes veteran leadership and it takes a sense of youth. And I think you've learned the hard way that it's just not all about acquiring stars as assets like you're in some hedge fund. By the way, Stormy, before we go to our next visit, Bloomberg News is reporting that the Boston Celtics majority ownership has put the team up for sale. So when you win one, it's time to sell. Time to sell.
That figure just got a little bit more pricey, didn't it? Let's stay in California, though, for this next one. As Klay Thompson steps into the office, he has spent every season of his 11-year career with the Golden State Warriors, and it looks like the Splash Brothers is finally coming to an end in Golden State. What factors should Klay be considering when deciding where to begin this next chapter of his NBA career? Reportedly, some teams he's planning on having discussions with: the Dallas Mavericks, Lakers, Clippers, and 76ers.
Well, I think you got to go to where you feel most comfortable, Klay. Look, all good things come to an end, right? And I think that the Warriors have been fair to you in the sense that you missed 2 seasons. And then after your second injury, I wasn't sure you could continue to play in the playoff game where you didn't play very well. They brought you back again. So, look, there's no sense in being angry or bitter at the Warriors. Relish in the time, the 5 All-Star teams you made, the 4 NBA titles that you experienced, and go find a place where you fit very comfortably and know you can win. You know, there's no pressure on you anymore. You know, your numbers have declined, and probably because of the workload. But I think if you go somewhere where you feel re-energized, and you feel that fountain of youth, and you don't let the old man in, like Clint Eastwood told Toby Keith, I think it certainly can help you. And look, it's not about money. It's about going somewhere where you enjoy it, and you can feel the camaraderie within the locker room, because that's all that matters.
I feel like if he really wants to win, the Dallas Mavericks, if he can be a catch-and-shoot guy on the three-point line, like that feels like it would be an awesome spot. The Warriors, 17-1 in the Western Conference, followed by the Clippers at 20-1, so 8th and 9th respectively there. Favorites in the West, OKC at 4-1, as well as Denver. Then the Timberwolves and Mavs sitting there at 5-1. Bronny James was drafted this past week to the Los Angeles Lakers with the number 55 overall selection in the second round, despite averaging fewer than 5 points per game in his lone season at USC. It's the first time in NBA history that a father and son will go on to play on the same team. Now, with this, obviously, there's going to be a lot of talk about how he got this opportunity naturally. How should Bronny James be approaching his rookie year with one of the most notable franchises in the NBA?
Well, I think how you got here doesn't really matter. It's what you do when you get here. That's all that matters. So what you have to show everybody is your commitment to working and your commitment to getting better. And you know you got to improve, because let's face it, if the Lakers don't take you at 55, you're probably going undrafted. You know, when you average 4 points your career at USC, you don't make all conference in high school. I know you were a McDonald's top 30 player, but ESPN controls that, and we know the worldwide leader wanted you to get drafted. So, look, it's all behind you now. Now you have the opportunity, and you have to leave that at the door. You've got to work your tail off and show everybody that you can make some contribution. And the contribution that you're going to make as a 20-year-old kid is going to be simply work hard. You're not going to impact the game. I mean, maybe there'll be a game where you're on the court with Pops, but it's going to be few and far between. You know, you're not ready to play at this level yet. You've got to get yourself ready to play. And the only way you can do that is through hard work. Because if you were ready to play, you would have gone earlier in the draft, and you're going to be in the G League. And I think you got to take that spirit of playing for the Lakers to the G League team.
You know, there are always going to be people that get their foot in the door for special reasons and special circumstances, but you said it great off the top. It's about what you do with that opportunity moving forward that's really going to establish you in your career. So we'll see what Bronny James does. One more here, final minute. Chris Paul has never been a free agent in his 20-year career, only available for a few hours before being waived by the Warriors. He ultimately ends up signing a 1-year deal worth more than $11 million with the Spurs, joining Popovich and Victor Wembanyama. How should his mindset be entering the twilight of his career with a really exciting franchise that's up and coming?
I think this is all about setting a standard. I think, Chris, you've been there. You've seen good teams. You've seen bad teams. You've seen great teams. And they brought you in to teach these young players what it takes to be a great team. One thing for Pop to say it, it's another thing coming from a guy who's going in the Hall of Fame to say it. So really, this isn't about how many points you score or what you do. You're another coach on the court, and your 20-year career is going to be measured by what you give back to the team, not what you've gotten out of this year.